Hey, this is Danielle from Black Business Boom, and I am live today with a special guest from Old National Bank. I'm really excited to have Senior VP and Community Lending Market Executive Leo Lopez joining me to talk about an amazing initiative at Old National Bank that's helping small business owners gain access to capital. Hey, Leo, how are you?
Doing well, Danielle. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, I'm really excited. I have gotten the opportunity to learn more about the program and your commitment to small business owners in several markets across the US. But I'm really excited because you all are bringing these programs here to the Nashville market. So tell us a little bit about what we have to expect here in Nashville for the small business owners.
The Old National Bank recently announced the acquisition of Capstar Bank, and that process of acquisition is ongoing, and we're expecting, so far so good, expecting that somewhere in the middle of the summer the acquisition will be completed. So, with that, it is our hope to bring on all of the Old National Bank suite of products, including this product that a empowerment small business loan program that the bank has put together is explicitly with the intent of expanding access to capital or expanding business lending to minority and women-owned small businesses.
That's wonderful, Leo. And why did Old National decide that this was important for them to tackle, an issue that was important for them to take on?
So it all stems from the vision of our CEO, Jim Ryan, who asked the question, as my boss tells the story in one of his executive meetings, when discussing what transactions we're doing and why are we not lending more into these communities. And then my boss, Roland Shelton, first African American chief executive in the history of the company. So he's first. He's uh, he was tasked with figuring out, okay, how do we go about it? And I was fortunate enough to be asked to participate in the process and take a go at it. So we're very fortunate that I took the job on December of 2021, and by
Hmm.
December of 22, we were able to put together the program, and then we spent 23 in our first year of implementation. So thrilled to share that in the first 13 months of the program, we approved over $32 million worth of loans. And that was in Indianapolis, Louisville, Evansville, Chicago, Milwaukee, and Minneapolis.
Man, that is amazing. A lot of great markets that we also serve with Booming University. And so I know firsthand that there are so many minority owned businesses in those markets you named that really need capital, and there has really been this huge gap in minority businesses being able to access the capital they need. And some of that is just due to the flexibility in lending requirements. So can we dig a little bit into what is, I know that you all have some expanded credit guidelines. You've modified some collateral requirements. So let's talk a little bit about who is an ideal fit and what are the requirements for a small business owner to be able to access capital with Old National through this empowerment program.
Absolutely. I think, though, first I'd like to address, the root of the problems that we're trying to address. And so, when putting the program together, we focused on figuring out, okay, um, why there's a need, and we all know that there's a need, but we had to quantify why there's a need. Specifically, in my career, 28 years of banking, we look at how the wealth gap shows up at my door at the bank with our borrowers. And so the wealth gap is very well documented. That shortfall makes a difference and has an effect on how borrowers show up. And what that means is typically lower credit scores, um, less money for down payments, and tighter cash flows. And that's not just my opinion. It's very well documented data that shows that, including, for example, that Black borrowers across the country do have a credit score that is 57 points less. Um, we do have to acknowledge that there's a reason why the welfare exists. And so while we do that, then we move to, okay, what can we do to address it? So, and that's the root of how we look at the issues that we're looking to solve in credit requests from businesses. And so uh, when you take all of that into account, then you do have to modify the processes that exist around credit scores. One of the most important things at times that gets missed with our entrepreneurs is how important the personal credit score is. And most times it is the most important thing in a business loan application. And so uh, our job, our contention has always been that there are good businesses that are not getting approved because they face additional challenges. And part of that is somewhere along the line, they end up with a challenged credit score, but they have a business that is making money now. And how do we bridge that gap? And so, and that's the reasoning behind having a lower credit score. Mind you, just having that minimum credit score does not automatically mean approval. We still have to take a look at the business in its entirety and its merit. But the door is not closed the moment you see a credit score that is not in a range that is required. Uh, and so that is incredibly important in how business loans get looked at. Um, so that we do that. So that our credit scores and the program go down to 620. We do have some leeway with collections, bankruptcies. Again, we have to look holistically at what is the root cause of it. So if somebody filed bankruptcy for medical reasons, that's something that potentially we can look at, as opposed to somebody who just used credit not responsibly. So the the gist of the program is that it allows us to dig deeper and understand the root causes, not just carte blanche say, if somebody has a credit score below a certain number, you are declined.
I love that. That's amazing, Leo. I think that's a great opportunity for a lot of business owners, because there is a story behind it. Sometimes, there's a story behind what happened, and many times you just get that decline letter. You don't get the opportunity to tell the story of, this is what my family was experiencing during that time, and it led to this credit blip. So I love that.
So, and all of it's tied together. So when you have a lower credit score, chances are you might not qualify for the SBA financing. And so then how do we look to a process where we can still try to figure out a way to get to approving credit? One example is when a business is looking to finance their own building. Typically there are a couple of ways to go about it. One, leveraging SBA, either one of their two programs, 7A or 504s, both of which require 10% down payment. Okay, so, but if you don't have a credit score that meets the minimum criteria, then those two programs are not available to you. But if you have a business that is making money, how can we get there? So conventionally, then we are able within the program go to 85% loan to value. But we also can do things such as partner with a nonprofit lender, a CDFI, and see if they're willing to do subordinated lending. Situationally, we've been able to do a 5% down payment program in which we finance 80%. CDFI finances 15%. The borrower comes up with 5%. Assuming that the numbers still work, we can get there. So that's just another example of how we're approaching that. So
that's amazing. The creativity. I love it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I get often asked is, okay, you're doing all these loans. What's to say that they all will not go bad? And so that's something that we pay a lot of attention to. we'll go back to our contention that there are good businesses that face additional challenges that are not getting funded. So our definition of a good business is incredibly important for the sustainability of the program. What that means is we're looking for businesses that are making money, and that's incredibly important because that is how we get paid back. And then so and what we have found is that our contention is turning out to be correct, and that there are a lot of businesses that are making money but are saddled with all of these other challenges. Okay, so typically, if a business is losing money, that, very few times more money is not the answer. The first answer is going to be, okay, how do you fix the business model so that it works? And so that's something that we work really closely with our prospects is so not only, okay, can a loan be done, but if not, well, what are the steps? So that's something that has to be understood. One of the other things that I get about the program is once we're in the middle of it and we're asking 1,000 questions and asking for a bunch of documents, often they go, Leo, I thought this would be easier. And that there's a process that potentially increases the probability of getting funding does not mean that it's easier, because business borrowing is not easy. And if somebody's offering you easy money, then there's something wrong, because typically the processes and reports that we ask for are processes and reports that are incredibly valuable to the businesses themselves. And for example, if you are running a business and you know where you are financially every month, you're going to make really good decisions. And so, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I was explaining this to a prospect, and I said, listen, what I need to know is, what did you bring in? What did you spend? And then what's left over? And then that leftover is enough to pay you and me. That's it.
Makes perfect sense, right?
Keep it that simple. And so, and if you know what's left over every month, then you're not going to get into too much trouble. What happens is, if you wait 12 months to find out what's left over, you might find out there's nothing left. As a matter of fact, you might find out that you're in the hole by a lot, and then there's nothing you can do about it. But if you know what's left over at the end of 1 month and there's a problem, well, then you can fix it. So a 1 month problem is a lot easier to fix than a 12-month problem. So those are the things that we talk about in our processes with our customers, so that they can get a sense of what we're looking for. So again, it's not easier. The difference is, and you talked about, about the program. Okay, what makes the difference? Okay, so we do have expanded parameters, but in addition to that, we have attempted to put highly qualified individuals to be the ones implementing the program, facilitating the program. Okay, so if you go to our landing page, which we have provided a link to, you can see who is in charge of the program. And so that's incredibly important for us. We attempted to put highly qualified, technically sound credit people that also understand the communities we're attempting to serve. And so that's very important about the program. So, for example, my colleagues have combined, so they have 30 plus years of experience. I myself, 28 years of experience. So it is, so we're trying to put our best to solve this issue. So that's very important. Who implements the loan, the program. Also, how does it get underwritten? The program has its own underwriter with full authority over the program, and that's important because it allows us to provide consistency of approvals, both technically and in the spirit of the program. So that's very important. Happens to be an African American gentleman with 30 plus years of commercial underwriting experience, and so and the whole thing reports directly to Roland Shelton, who again is is our first African American gentleman to join the executive suite at Old National, the C-suite. So the program is accountable, and so while that accountability does throw quite a bit of pressure for someone like me, because things need to happen. But that's important because that's what we want in this program. So
Yeah, it's the work that you're doing with the program is extremely important, and I love that, there are those different levels of accountability. And not only that, that you all were very intentional in thinking through the players that were involved all the way down to the underwriter who's involved, because having an underwriter who understands the goal of the initiative and supports that is really important as well. Like as a former banker, I never got to talk to the underwriter. We just sent the application through and we just got it's either approved, so I don't know if this person